Good early morning, Lori F. Dean here, your Midlife Matters mentor, and I'm just sitting outside 6:30 in the morning enjoying this amazing view, which I never tire of. And it's a busy time of year, and I live in a resort area, so it's kind of noisy and crowded, but I don't care because I just can't get enough of my lake and my mountains in the background. I'm a kid who was born and raised on the prairies, and I've never really been around water for any length of time. So it's been almost a year now since we've been here, and I have to tell you, I love it. I really enjoy it. But I would not be in this place physically, and I would not be in this place spiritually, emotionally, and mentally if I hadn't taken a big risk. But before I talk a little bit more about that, I want to ask you a question. What is your definition of vulnerable? What does that mean to you? And not something that you've Googled or something that you've opened your big heavy dictionary and looked up. I don't want a dictionary definition. I want your definition. What does the word vulnerable mean to you? What does it conjure up when you hear that word? Think about that while we talk, and I'm going to share with you a little bit about what it means to me based on my own journey. So as I mentioned, I would not be where I am right now if I hadn't taken some risks. And 3 years ago, I did. Big ones. Sold my house, quit my job, dumped my stuff, and began traveling all over Canada, the States, and Mexico until we came back here to settle in for a bit. And at that point, I kind of thought I was going on a physical journey, which of course I was. I was traveling to all these places, having these great experiences, meeting great people. But it was more than that. It was actually a journey inward. I have been on some kind of spiritual quest forever. But I didn't really understand how deep this spiritual journey, this inner transformation would be for me when I set out in 2009. I do want to talk specifically about what's happened during the past 7 months to me, because when we came and settled here, I made a big decision. And that was a big decision to step out into a whole different enterprise, a whole different way of being, a whole different entrepreneurship, something that was so foreign to me. I became a member of the Coach Master Academy with Garrett J. White as the Master Coach mentor leading the whole pack. And when I made the decision to do so, and when he accepted me into the academy, I decided I would plunge in completely. My definition and my preconception of what it meant to be a coach was very, very limited before that. It's changed quite a bit now, obviously. But I had no prior experience. So I jumped into the deep end and I treaded water, and I was underwater so much of the time. And I didn't know if I would be able to survive. But I kept going because I made this commitment, and I was excited by it. I kept trying, and I kept failing and going under the water. But lo and behold, in the past 5-6 weeks or so, I'm not under the water as much. Yeah, I'm still treading water an awful lot, but I'm actually taking some breaststrokes and moving forward. So what has happened specifically to me that has maybe caused that? Yes, it's an accumulation of everything, and yes, it's an accumulation of all the training I've received, but something quite remarkable and quite specific has happened through the course of all that. And you know what it is? I've become more vulnerable. Now, I asked you to think about what the definition of that word was for you. And for me, prior to this moment in time, being vulnerable meant being weak, being open to ridicule, being open to being taken advantage of, being subservient. I felt if I showed my vulnerability to anybody, that would be it for me. I would be less than. I would be taken advantage of. I would not be in a good spot. What I've come to realize, though, is it's quite the opposite. When you stand in your certainty and your confidence, you can't help but be vulnerable. Because being vulnerable is all about being authentic. It's all about being your true self. And when you are vulnerable, you know what happens? You gain power, and you gain peace, and you become still. And you can hold that vulnerability and that power in the midst of chaos. No matter what is going on around you, you are the one who can be vulnerable. I've reframed my definition, and I know this to be true now. Being vulnerable will not take away my agency. Being vulnerable will not make me weak. Being vulnerable will not make me subservient or lose power. It will not allow others to take advantage of me. If anything, it will push me forward on my journey, and all of those things are less likely to occur. What a huge eye-opener for me, and I got to tell you, this only happened in the last few days. Now, I know I've been a lot more vulnerable and a lot more honest and open with people over these past weeks, but to actually be able to crystallize what vulnerability means to me is something that's just happened in the last couple of days. Vulnerability equals power and peace. It equals authenticity and strength. It equals love. It equals sharing. It equals joy. Okay, that's my definition. What about yours? What does vulnerable mean to you? So tell me your definition of vulnerability, and if it's not a great one that's helping you move forward, how you're going to change that in terms of the definition, and what step you're going to take on your new path to being vulnerable. Comments below. Click the link to always be kept up to date on upcoming videos, and I really look forward to hearing your comments on this, and I look forward, as always, to seeing you in the next video of Midlife Matters.